You know, there is a story on the internet about a man on a roof. Now, where he lives, and I'm paraphrasing the story, so bear with me, but where he lives, there's a flood, and he makes his way to the top of the roof, waiting for someone to rescue him. So while it's on top of his roof, the helicopter comes by, and he waves the helicopter off and says, "God will save me." Okay? The guy in the boat goes out to the roof and he says, "I'm here to get you off your roof." He waves the boat off and says, "God will save me." Then the man, risking his own safety, he swims out to the roof and he says, "Look, I will help you." And he waves the man off, saying, "God will save me." Well, eventually the house sinks and he drowns. So he goes up to heaven and he says to God, "Why didn't you save me?" And God said, "Really? You asked that question? I sent you a helicopter and you waved it off. I sent you a boat and you waved that off. I even sent a swimmer and you waved him off. So what are you talking about? Your result is from your action or inaction." I love that story because that story really is the story of all of us. And right now I want to talk to you what we do to ourselves based upon our own actions or inactions. And I will do my best to explain it with addictions. Now, I am not a psychologist. I am not a medical doctor. I am nothing. Just a human being who has had a lot of experiences. Now, I have had these experiences because I have asked for them. So my place of birth, spending 21 years in the Navy, the many abuses that I have had to suffer because of hate and prejudices, all of these things because I asked for them. And in so doing, it made me the person I am. Now, like I said, I'm not a psychologist. My cousin Beth is a psychologist, and she's one of the best in the world as far as I'm concerned. I consider her not only my cousin, but my friend. Beth is an amazing young woman. Amazing. I love her to death. Of course, how she feels about me, that's another matter. But here's the thing. I want to talk a little bit about addiction, and I'm talking from my personal experience. Like I said in a previous video, you have to create your own school of thought based upon your knowledge, your experience, your intuition, and wisdom gleaned from others. So this is my experience. I'm not a professional anything, but this is what I have learned. I was addicted to cigarettes. Now, you got to understand addiction. It doesn't matter whether you're addicted to alcohol or religion or whatever. Golf. Oh, yeah. There is an addiction there. But here's the thing. You are a God. You tell your body what you tell your body, and the body complies without judgment or without morality. So let's take cigarette smoking, which is something I know about. Okay? For over 20 years I smoked cigarette. It was an addiction. Okay? I would get up 2 o'clock in the morning, go out to my car, go through the ashtray to find a little teeny weeny butt so I could light it up and smoke it. Remember, The body could care less about judgment or morality. All the body knows is that you are telling it that you're addicted. Okay? So here's the deal. I would get in the car and old ashtrays, I was reluctant to empty ashtrays because sooner or later I'd need a cigarette and I was out and I would straighten out the little butt. Only that much. Because I was addicted. Now let me tell you something about what you tell your body through time. You tell your body in ways that are physiological. You tell your body in ways that are mental. And you tell your body in ways that are spiritual. Keep in mind, I'm not an expert. I'm simply telling you what I know. So, I didn't stop until I had a revelation. That's how people stop their addiction. Okay? My revelation happens to be my ex-wife, a woman that I still love dearly. She knows it and I know it. She's simply my ex-wife because of my behavior. But that's beside the point. Here's the thing. So I'm addicted to cigarettes physiologically, mentally, spiritually. So the only way I could break this addiction was the same way I started. When I first started smoking cigarettes, I would cough my lungs out. But I made myself do it listening to the words of other people. You remember that video I made and I told you that your happiness depends upon your dependency on others and on things. So I made myself a cigarette smoker. So the only way to break an addiction, and this is the only way that I know of, is to have a revelation that causes you, that gives you the impetus to quit. My revelation was my wife, my ex-wife, Annette, and she said, Dave, in a very subtle way, all the women in my life, by the way, have always advised me in subtle ways. They don't beat me over the head, subtle ways. And they said, do whatever you want, but you will not smoke around my children. So, I go to the Navy, and the Navy sent me through smoke cessation school. In other words, it's a school where you don't learn to stop smoking. Stop smoking doesn't work. Or stop your addiction doesn't work. You have to become a non-smoker. So you have a 5-week span of time. Okay? And during the first week, you smoke. I smoked whatever I wanted to, whenever, except I recognized there were 2 signals, and I may smoke whatever I want to smoke, but I may not smoke in the car, I may not smoke in the house. So those are 2 signals that I have broken. The following week, I go down to a cigarette brand that is half the nicotine content, and I break 2 more signals. So now I do not smoke after a meal, and I do not smoke in the company of people. So that's 4 signals that I have trained myself to break. The 3rd week, I go again to half the nicotine brand, and again I break another 2 signals. The 4th week, the same. By the 5th week, I had circled a date. That was the date that I would become a non-smoker. So by the 5th week, really, I had become a non-smoker. I was down to smoking a cigarette called Carlton. And I had broken all the signals. And my body, again, the body just do what it tells you. It goes through this withdrawal thing, you know, where you cough up a lot of phlegm, and the body says, okay, So he wants to make corrections. And you make physiological corrections. And there you have it. And I've been a non-smoker since 1985, and I'm 80 years old. And I never had an urge to smoke. Because you see, the urge in all addictions will last for maybe 2 minutes and then it goes away. You know that's going to happen, so you push it away. Whether it's cigarette smoking or your addiction to religion, yeah, that's an addiction. What you do is you train your mind to be parochial in thought. You're born into a certain religion, and you're going to stay there. Why? Because your parents told you, and because you're scared to death to leave it. But you have to break that addiction. So, I just wanted to tell you, just now, I was just outside. What I'm developing is new habits. My new habit is that I'm feeding my birds. My new habit is that I'm creating mental games for me. At age 80, I'm learning to fly an airplane through the Microsoft simulation. Okay? And I am developing that addiction because of mental acuity. I feed my birds every morning, and every morning I go to my backyard, which to me is holy ground. Like God said to Moses, take off your shoes because the ground in which you stand is holy. My backyard is holy ground. And in my backyard I have a flower that is blooming, the results of which I can now see clearly because I no longer have the mind fog. Listen, if you want to talk more about it, just drop me a note in the comment section. I'll be glad to talk about it because addiction is an awful thing.